Let's take a look at some charts on Dogecoin for Brave New Coin. So Doge is a proof of work coin that is merge mined with Litecoin, which means if you mine Litecoin, you can also receive Dogecoin rewards at the same time. Dogecoin's hash rate has increased dramatically since October last year, sitting near multi-month highs, kind of at the perceived level of what the market can sustain based on mining profitability. Everything up here was based on Litecoin's halving, which occurred in August 2019, and hash rate fell off a cliff precipitously, but since then, script ASIC hash rate has increased pretty significantly overall. If we look at the script ASICs and their mining profitabilities, all of which are positive. One script ASIC in March 2021 was released. This is at 4 cents per kilowatt hour. So not what most people on an average consumer level get for electricity, but industrial level electricity costs are around 4 cents per kilowatt hour. So they are making bank still on script ASICs and just mining script with GPUs, CPUs in general. I'm not sure if the value on this website includes both Doge and LTC. It might, but I'm not completely sure. In any case, still very profitable, especially historically to where script ASICs have been in the past. If you look at Doge inflation, it is actually quite low at around less than 4%, 3.88%. Certainly lower than a lot of projects, lower than Dash, lower than ETH even. I think ETH is around 4%. Higher than Monero, higher than BTC inflation, but definitely on the lower end compared to other projects. Big problem with Doge as far as the store of value is concerned is that they just got so many coins in circulation that it's going to be hard to take Doge seriously as a store of value. I think it's a great speculative pump and dump coin for people who enjoy trading that nonsense, but long term it's unlikely to accrue massive value. If we look at transaction counts and average transaction values, transaction counts have increased significantly since 2020, basically since the 2-year period between 2018 and 2020. Average transaction values are way up. This could be a Robinhood effect or related to Robinhood wallets. And transactions per day hit a multi-year high a few days ago for Doge. Really, it's been is that a 6-year high? 7-year high, maybe? So lots of on-chain activity for Doge, definitely in a big way, compared to where it's ever been, really. If we look at NVT, inverse metric of economic utility, and active addresses in the fill here, active addresses also at multi-year highs, slightly down from 100,000. But again, that's a 6-7-year high. NVT is declining, which means on-chain activity is rising relative to market cap, which makes sense if you look at transactions and average transaction values. This should be falling. So that's bullish. Again, this is bullish. I should clarify that because it maybe sounds like I'm not bullish on these metrics, but transaction counts increasing is definitely bullish. You'd much rather see transaction counts holding at those high levels than just spiking and then falling right back down to basically the range, the 2-year range. This could be mining related, it could be botnet related, it could be Robinhood related, Yahoo related, whoever's trading this, doing a bunch of transactions at once, that sort of thing. That could all affect this. If you look at the fees, which are higher than they've ever been historically, if we zoom way out, fees have never been this high on Doge. They're currently less than 20 cents, but they peaked above a quarter. Block sizes in the fill here, and you can see although block sizes barely increased, fees just absolutely skyrocketed. They 5x'd and then some on a very minimal block size increase. So there's a lot of just new activity pushing, again, probably a Robinhood effect, new activity pushing Doge fees higher. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. At 15 cents a transaction, that's next to nothing. Look at ETH. ETH is like, I just paid $300 for a transaction a mere hour ago. So from a transactional perspective, it's still okay. It's just you never want to see fees explode on virtually no increase in overall chain usage. So this either points to poor scalability of Doge or poor usage of the chain by exchanges, really. If we look at MVRV in the line here, MVRV historically had above 3, it's marked an all-time high or local high in price. Currently it is around 250 and rising again. But if we compare the price to that, each local high in price in USD terms has been marked with a high in MVRV. So this is pretty substantial evidence that based on on-chain activity, the market cap for Doge is probably topped out in the interim, regardless of how I think about transactions or active addresses, even though both of which are increasing. Active addresses are at multi-year highs, transactions per day at multi-year highs. The bottom line is the market cap historically has not outpaced on-chain activity to a degree currently being seen. So it can certainly hover at 350 MVRV, but I wouldn't expect it to go much higher unless on-chain activity increases substantially. If we look at Dogecoin Google Trends past 5 years, this kind of says the same story as active addresses and transactions per day. Big spike and all the way down. Now my guess is some of this is bots pushing this metric up substantially. We've seen it before. If we look at, I think it's Binance. Yeah, we see similar things with Binance. Like this was unlikely organic. This was likely just somebody pulling shenanigans for Binance. So to see a similar picture in Doge, yes, there was a big spike in in Google Trends, but this looks unnatural to me. The fact that it's a magnitude bigger than the previous all-time high is a bit weird. But there was definitely a lot of organic activity though. So this metric's kind of a wash at the moment, even though it's still sitting at all-time highs relative to where it's ever been. All right, let's switch to technicals. I have VPVR, volume profile of the visible range, RSI, and price. Really all I ever look at for Doge. Historically, it's never held 100 sats this long since 2014. So is this time different? It very well could be. I'm not betting on it. I'm not longing up here. For me, the long bet is definitely at 40 sats or less. Historically, you just don't make money if you're long. Doge at 100 sats doesn't end well for you because inevitably it will retrace in a violent way. I don't expect that to be different this time, regardless of Robinhood or whoever. I just don't expect it to be different. Until it's different, you can't expect otherwise. Trend is your friend until the end. There's also a bit of a resistance notch here now at 120 sats. So it'll have to overcome that in a big way because anybody who's long from anything above 120, 130 sats is probably clamoring at the bit to get out at any higher high here. If we look at the daily cloud for Doge BTC, there's kind of this head and shoulders fractal as well. There's no real redeeming bullish reversal qualities about this. It is below the daily cloud, bearish TK cross. Trend-wise it says it's done. If I'm relonging this, it's because we're above the cloud with the bullish TK cross. Otherwise, the expectation is bearish. 4-hour Doge BTC, 50 to 200 EMAs keep trying to crisscross, and there really hasn't been any bullish momentum here. So the longer this can consolidate at 100, the better. The longer the accumulation, the better. I can't be optimistic on it trend-wise unless something incredibly and crazy happens. Here's the weekly Doge USD cloud plus the 20 SMA or 20 MA. And for most things, historically, if we're above the 20 weekly MA, we're bullish. And right now it's around 0.027 cents USD. So that would be a decent rebuy point for me. If I'm trading this, it's kind of near the previous all-time high. Cloud is blown out, doesn't know what to think of this whole move on the weekly. So we kind of have to zoom in. If we go to the daily cloud, it's still above the cloud. It's above the Kijun. It's kind of bounced where it should have. It looks okay on trend. Doesn't look completely terrible. It's hard for me to get excited about this until some sort of lows are retested or the cloud crosses on itself again. The metrics need to reset for me to think about entering any of that ever again in the near term. And as far as 50 to 200 on the daily, big mean reversion potential to get into that 025, 027 level. So overall fundamentals remain bullish historically, but not bullish relative to where they were over the past few weeks. They've certainly waned significantly. Transactions down, active addresses down. NVT is a bit of an anomaly in that it's declining to a historical low, whereas MVRV is telling you, get the hell out of this thing because this does not look pretty historically based on previous highs of MVRV and highs in price. Technicals for Doge BTC tell me be careful at 100 sats. Historically, it's never held that level for an extended period of time. Doge USD looks okay on trend. It probably needs some mean reversion support tests. But let me know if you're trading Doge. Let me know what you're doing in the comments below. If you're bullish, bearish, riding that crypto meme to $1, or you're ready to swoop it up at basically a 50% drop here on the USD chart.